Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news, as today could be a double deal day. Will we get Ugarte? Here we go. And Scott McTominay? Here we go. And talking about double deals, we've also got Raheem Sterling and Adrien Rabiot desperate to join Manchester United. So much so that both players could be willing to take severe pay cuts to join the Old Trafford revolution. Does that change the story? Does that change your mind as well? We've also got a big update coming in from Italy around Amrabat and what's likely to happen with him and Manchester United in the next few days. Lindelof, here we go. According to his wife, what does that mean? And Jadon Sancho absolutely desperate to get out of Manchester United as his and Ten Hag's relationship deteriorates again. Did it ever really deteriorate, or did some of us just fall for the PR nonsense that they got on to try and get a deal done that hasn't happened because they never got on anyway? Loads to get into on the show this morning, plus a few other bits about strikers and everything else as well. But I hope you're doing very well this morning. Look, my thoughts are, if a player wants to join Manchester United and take a big pay cut, does that make them more appealing? Well, to some people it does, but I would say a shit sandwich at half the price is still a shit sandwich. So for me, it doesn't really change anything. It's not really about your wage. It's about a few other things, but we'll talk about that. Where are we today? Well, it's Monday, but in the UK, it's sort of like a BTEC Sunday or a Poundland Sunday because it's a bank holiday. We have got 4 days left in this transfer window. It slams shut at 11 o'clock on Friday night. Obviously, Man United are playing Liverpool on the Sunday. So basically, next Friday is when it all ends. The hours are counting down. I would say that we are in for a very interesting few days. But can we start the week with a double deal that's very satisfying? Here we go. McTominay to Napoli, and here we go, Ugarte to Manchester United. Let's quickly talk about that before we talk about the Sancho situation, the Sterling situation, the Rabiot situation, the Lindelof situation, and the Amrabat situation. There's a lot of situations to talk about. With Ugarte, I'm tired myself. I mean, Fabrizio never sleeps, but I think he's fallen asleep himself about this Ugarte deal because his latest update is Ugarte is ready and waiting to fly to Manchester to complete this deal. I've got visions of Ugarte waiting in a Paris airport, watching flights to Manchester going, can I get on that one? No. Can I get on? Shall I book that one in a few hours just to give you a bit more time? No. Shall I get in my sleeping bag and wait? Yes. We get it. Ugarte is waiting. He is waiting at the airport to come and join Manchester United, and something is obviously delaying this deal, which I suspect is probably the Napoli-McTominay deal. There is every reason to be hopeful that today will progress it from what was deal done for McTominay yesterday to here we go today. Both players are going to want to be playing for their team at the weekend, and the sooner you do it, the better. All I would say is nobody's got a clue, and I'm not going to sit here and start predicting on a summer where we all know nobody can predict a thing. Will it be today? Will it be Friday? Will it be Wednesday? Will it be Thursday? Will it be Tuesday? I don't know. I'm just hoping it will be today because really they're the most obvious deals in the world, and as soon as they get done, we can move on to other aspects of the transfer window. So Ugarte and McTominay could get double here we go today. Hopefully we will, because we all know they're going to happen. They're going to happen. But it's the rest of the transfer window that makes me interested. And I've got to say, first of all, bit of breaking news. Oasis reunion is great, Bob, but that's not really for the United Stand. I don't think anything's going to happen with the left back. Just wanted to throw that in there, but I don't think anything's going to happen with the left back. Maybe we can revisit that later in the show because I think that's quite significant. I know Delot played well against Brighton, but are we hyping up that performance because he's a right back playing at left back doing okay? We really do need a left back and we haven't got one. And we're not actually looking to bring one in, which I think could be something that bites us right on the arse, just like it did last season when we sent Reguilon back at Christmas. But look, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about latest breaking transfer news on this news show this morning. So I want to talk about Sancho. I want to talk about Amrabat because there are significant updates about them in this final week. Both desperate for moves. Will they both get one? But let's start off about Rabiot and Sterling. The latest coming out around those two, Ben Jacobs has spoken about it, The Telegraph were talking about it last night as well, is that Raheem Sterling would like to come to Manchester United and would be willing to take a pay cut to come to Manchester United to win back his England place and prove everybody wrong. That might just be a reason for United to look at the deal in a little bit more detail. It certainly might be a reason for some of you to look at that deal in more detail. Remember, 40% of you would sign Sterling according to the show last night. So maybe that goes up a little bit more when he's willing to take a pay cut. But for me, it still stays the same. I still look at it and go, he is a Chelsea reject. He is a Man City reject. And he played for Liverpool. Why the hell would we want him at Man United at 29 years of age? We have to stop doing these types of deals. I think at the start of last season, Raheem Sterling at Chelsea was actually quite good. I thought he started the season really, really well. Obviously, he didn't finish it well, but I thought he started the season quite well. There is no doubt that Raheem Sterling has talent. But why would this be any different to Alexis Sanchez signing for Man United at 29, or Bastian Schweinsteiger signing for Manchester United at 31, or Varane or Casemiro signing in their late 20s? We need to turn our back on these types of deals. They are not the vision we are looking for. And if we start looking at these deals again, then that initial PR of we're not going to do that anymore, we've got a new vision. If you're going to turn your attention to those old type of deals again at the first sign of panic, then you are not the people to take us on a new path. I'm not saying that Raheem Sterling's not a bad player. I wouldn't go anywhere near him because I don't like the way he's handled his exit from Chelsea, and I don't like the whole Raheem Sterling camp's not happy. But I couldn't give a shit about the Raheem Sterling camp. I give a shit about Raheem Sterling the player, because that's the only thing I'm interested in. You come to Manchester United, you're Raheem Sterling, and you play for Man United. Not interested in your PR, your camp, or your brand team, or anything like that. So that would concern me. But on a purely footballing level, he is a decent player. But I don't want Chelsea's rubbish, and I also don't want 29-year-olds who are looking for another chance, or a final contract, or a final glow-up. You know, it's like a candle with a little bit more burn left on it. Oh, it might burn bright for a little bit, but it's running out of wick, and I'm not interested in it. That's my personal opinion. No desperation, panic is going to infect my veins to make me go, let's go and sign Raheem Sterling from Chelsea. He might be able to redeem himself and us. I think the biggest impact of a deal like that for me would be turning your back on the vision that Ineos are selling us about a new Man United where we buy players who are under 25 and we build a future over 3 or 4 years. Raheem Sterling, Harry Maguire, Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, Rafael Varane, Cristiano Ronaldo, whoever, they can't be part of that vision because in 3 or 4 years they're retired. So for me, it's just a very logical no thank you. I don't care if you want to come and play for us on 100k a week. Yeah, that's a bargain, Mark. You can't say no to that. I can say no to that because it's a short-term plaster on an open wound and I've seen it all before. But look, I'm not going to be making this decision. It's completely up to you. Well, it's not up to you. It's completely up to Manchester United. But I don't see that as the way I want things to happen. I think Rabiot is a little bit more interesting, but ultimately, many would say, don't you dare flip-flop and be a hypocrite, because Rabiot is the same age as Raheem Sterling. Rabiot, in many ways, has many similarities with Raheem Sterling. He's played for a lot of clubs. He can play at the highest level. I mean, Raheem Sterling's England record is actually very, very good. But newsflash, says Robert McCormack. I agree with Mark. That is a newsflash. Raheem Sterling can play, but no. But look, I think Rabiot is the same. And if we'd signed Rabiot or Sterling at the, and this is where I'm not being a hypocrite, I have to say no to Rabiot and Sterling because you can't differentiate the two. Rabiot and Sterling, both proven internationals. Rabiot and Sterling, both 29. Rabiot and Sterling, both desperate to join Manchester United. Rabiot and Sterling, both probably going to take pay cuts in the last few days of the window. The similarities are astounding, really. So why would you say one yes to one and no to the other? But what I would say is, if at the start of July we'd signed Adrien Rabiot, it's very different to signing him at the end of August. Because at the start of July, he was a free agent. Just like Eriksen was 2 years ago. And Eriksen had signed for us by the 10th of July. It's the end of August. It's very obvious that United don't really want Rabiot. And Rabiot wasn't really interested in United. So again, I don't want to do a desperate deal at the end of the window for a player that's been free for 2 months. It's desperate, and it's very similar to Sterling. And the same with Sterling. If we targeted Sterling at the start of the summer and bought him in July, I might not agree with it, but at least I'd go, well, Ineos have a plan. They want him. But these two deals are just, to me, they're just pure desperation. And I think, as many have said, it's desperation from the players to join us. It's not us trying to convince them. It's their agents trying to convince us. And I just think if you're Sir Jim Radcliffe, Sir David Brailsford, Dan Ashworth, Barada, Blanc, whoever, when you've got an agent, oh, you should sign him, I'd just say, yeah, we'll call you back. Because we don't need that. We've done that. Trust me, we've done that for years. We've had agents ringing up going, what about this player? And we go, oh, yeah. Do your own scouting. Do your own work. Ring the agent yourself. Don't be taking late deals like this in the transfer window. Because I suspect that's what happened with Casemiro 2 years ago, by the way. I don't think we were looking at Casemiro at all for that summer. It was Frankie de Jong. And I think in the last 2 weeks, we'd probably got a phone call from someone at Madrid saying, do you fancy Casemiro? And United went, oh, yeah. Are you having a laugh? Yeah, of course I do. Why not try and get Levi Colwill instead of Sterling? Because they're not going to say, Michael, Chelsea are not stupid. They're reckless in the transfer window. They're chaotic in the transfer window. They're not stupid. They're giving us Sterling and Chilwell because they don't want them. They're not going to give us something they actually want. Chelsea get Sancho on a swap deal and then sell him for pure profit next year. No thanks. It's a very one-sided deal and screws us on FFP, says Stuart. It won't happen. Hi, Mark. Realistically, do you think we beat Liverpool next weekend? We're playing at home. Regards from Bangladesh. Senna, I would love to give you a definitive, yes, we'll beat Liverpool next week. Enjoy the rest of your week. Stay calm. I can't give you the result 6 days before. And I think the transfer window is going to take over a lot of our focus for the next few days. But that is a big game on the horizon. Having watched Liverpool's games against Ipswich and Brentford, there is an opportunity there. But they haven't conceded a goal, and we will have to play very, very well. We can certainly get a result. I'm leaning towards a draw at the moment, which I don't think is a great result for us, but it's better than a loss. Perhaps as an incentive, they'll offer McTominay the bunny hop coach when he retires, says Ginger Red. We've done Robert McCormack. He agrees with me on a Monday morning. What's going on? Jonathan says, Sterling trying to join United is like he's trying to collect all the Premier League Infinity Stones. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Jacob, welcome to Members Club. Jason says, Mark, Ugarte is a good player, but he's not the profile we need in midfield. We need a midfielder who can control the games. I completely disagree with you, Jason. I think you think we're Liverpool. I think you think we're Liverpool. Liverpool need a midfielder that can control the games. Manchester United need a midfielder that can fucking run. We need a midfielder that can tackle, and we need a midfielder that can last 90 minutes. The control the game thing is coming from Paul Scholes. And Paul Scholes is buttering his toast before he's bought the toast, the bread, or the toaster. We do need someone who can control the midfield, exactly. But it is like buttering your toast before you bought the toaster and the bread. It's like icing the cake and not making the cake. We do need someone like a Rodri that can control the game. But first of all, we need to actually get the ball. We need someone to win the ball. And that's what Ugarte will do. You're trying to run before you can walk. Yes, we need someone to control the game. But we need someone who can actually run for 90 minutes, win the ball back, bring a bit of urgency to that midfield. And that is why we're going for Ugarte. It's a step before the step you want to take, basically. Do you need a little more time to wake up, says Woody? Well, tomorrow morning, the Oasis announcement. I mean, if you get a ticket for that, well done. Rabiot for free would be a missed opportunity, says Keel. He's always been a big fan of Amrabat and Rabiot, to be fair. And Senna says no, because we know Ugarte will come off from the bench. And Onisum says Raheem and Rabiot is Deadwood collection, Mark. We cannot build on that. Right, so that's where we are with that. Let me talk to you about 3 other stories that are breaking this morning. Lindelof, here we go. Jadon Sancho and Amrabat. Also Tony, which is a little bit of a low-hanging fruit story, which I'll talk about. Let me talk about Lindelof very quickly, because I don't like to be a tease. And realistically, I think this is just... We've got to talk about it because it's news, but I want to excess goals prefers toes to toast. That's actually quite good, because you've taken the word toast and that took the T off. Toes to toast. Yeah, I get what you're doing there. That's very good for a Monday morning. Did I actually shout you out for that? X. Yeah, very, very good. Let me talk to you about Lindelof. So last night, Lindelof, wife, posted a picture, here we go, at an airport, right? A lot of people are starting to think, oh, his wife has put it out there that she's that Victor Lindelof's going to be leaving Manchester United. The truth behind this is that she's actually leaving Lindelof. She's left him. She's fed up of him being injured. She's fed up of him being a mercenary and not actually just leaving, so she's left him. She's moving back to Sweden. That's the story. That's a joke. If Victor's watching, it's a joke, and he didn't, it's a joke. They're very happily married, and she won't leave him. He's loaded. But the point I'm making is that I don't know whether it's a bit of a joke. I don't know whether she's even aware what she's done. But Victor Lindelof is not leaving Man United this week. He is injured. So unless this story takes an amazing twist, and Victor Lindelof becomes one of the very few players that leaves a football club in the last week of the transfer window when he's not even fit, then this is at best a mistake by his wife, who is just saying, we're off on holiday, here we go. Or it's his wife playing a little bit of a joke on United fans, which probably isn't the best thing to do when a lot of people want Lindelof to genuinely leave. But I'd file it as banter, because Victor Lindelof's not leaving Man United injured, and his wife's probably off on holiday for a week. But yeah, there are a few United fans who follow planes, probably watch trains as well in train stations, and Star Trek, and they have seen this and got a bit excited last night. And yeah, I don't know why you would do that as a joke. I mean, I don't get the joke. Maybe she's a Romano fan and is just on holiday and just saying, here we go, we're off on holiday. I don't know. But yeah, it's there's nothing in that. There's nothing in that, because he can't move when he's injured. So literally and transferly as well. Hi Mark, did you see Ricky's analysis on the Brighton winner? I blamed Delo first, but nobody told Mazraoui who to mark. There was no leader in the box, as Luciano. I haven't seen Ricky's analysis of it, Luciano, and I think what I would say is I saw somebody sent me something yesterday, just very quickly, because I want to talk about Sancho and Amrabat. Let me just tell you about analysis, right? It's like an arsehole. Everyone's got one. And what I mean by that is, just be very careful. Be very, very careful who you listen to. And that includes me, because it's just opinion. Everybody can take a screenshot or a clip and blame whoever they want. It's a well-known fact, and it's been like that for years. That's why you've got Rio Ferdinand and Joe Cole saying that Harry Maguire had a good game and shouldn't have been taken off when Harry Maguire had a shite game. But, some people will agree with them on that. It's very opinionated, tactical analysis. I saw a bit of tactical analysis this morning, actually, where somebody had screenshots of Man United's press, and it was a screenshot, and they drew an arrow saying that Kobe Mainoo should be running diagonally backwards 10 yards to cover off a pass for Brighton. And I just turned the app off. I went, well, that is a screenshot of you putting your agenda onto something that's got no context. When you even on the screenshot, you can see we're trying to press as a 6 going forward. If Mainoo goes backwards diagonally, the whole press falls apart. But because they've seen a pass there, they're like, now he should drop back. It's just crap analysis, and we're all capable of it. I haven't seen Mazraoui being responsible for that winner, but what I have seen very, very clearly is that mainly Casemiro and McTominay completely and utterly abandoned their post on the back post, and 2 Brighton players are unmarked. Now, whether Mazraoui should be marking that front post or not, when you watch the corner, we are marking correct areas. The problem is everybody runs out and abandons their post. Now, does Mazraoui do that? I didn't see him abandon his post. Is Dalot in the right position? Well, he's marking the other post, so I don't think Dalot's to blame. For me, it's Casemiro and McTominay every time I've watched it, and I've seen it 10 times, at least. So that's just my analysis. I might be wrong, but I'm not going to listen to anybody give a definitive, it was De Ligt, or it was Mazraoui, or it was Martinez, or it was Mainu, or whoever else was on the pitch at the time. As soon as Eric heard Scooby was leaving, he panicked and performed an exorcism to put McTominay's soul in Casemiro. Invisible versus Brighton on defence, says Ruben. Signings have been good, but frustrating on sales. A legacy of the last decade dishing out stupid contracts. Sir Jim said it would take years to fix, says McAlvis. Well, it will. It will do. Let's carry on with the transfer theme. Want to talk about Sancho next, but let me talk to you about Amrabat. So Amrabat, according to Corriere dello Sport, which is an Italian outlet, Amrabat moving to Manchester United. Now, I always felt that this was possible this week, and I'm not going to rule it out on Hunchbridge, which means I've just got that feeling. I got that feeling. Oh, I got that feeling. I've just got that feeling that maybe Amrabat isn't completely over. I've got that vision of Amrabat in his Man United shorts in July on the bike. But what they're saying in Italy is that Man United will not be going anywhere near Amrabat because Fiorentina will not lower their price. They want £12 million, 15 million euros for Amrabat with 1 year left on his contract. And Man United are not willing to pay that. In fact, Man United only want to pay about 7 million, 10 million euros. And even that might be not something they want to do in the last few days of the window. So Amrabat, Man United, at the moment, very latest from Italy, is that the price that Fiorentina are looking for is just double what Man United want to play. Also, Amrabat played again for Fiorentina yesterday. They've drawn their first 2 games. He played last weekend and he played the game yesterday, last night, in fact, for Fiorentina. So Amrabat back to Manchester United, probably not going to happen. I mean, let me just run a quick poll on this, just out of personal interest. Would you bring Amrabat back for 10 mil? Yes or no? Let's add a bit of context to it. Just on Amrabat before we talk about Sancho, I would say this about Amrabat. Our midfield this season, it's a weird one, but our midfield this season is weaker than the FA Cup final. We had Bruno, Mainu and Amrabat and Casemiro for the FA Cup final. And this season, we haven't got Amrabat. So just think about that for a moment. All right, they're probably fitter, less tired, whatever. But our midfield this season has started off weaker than last season. Now, you'd never say that about... We were so injury-prone last season, you would never think that. But it's the one area of the pitch, the most important area of the pitch, in fact. It's the one area of the pitch where we're weaker than last season. Centre-backs were stronger. Full-backs were stronger, even though we haven't got a left-back, because we didn't have a left-back last year, and we bought Mazraoui. Wingers, we've got more wingers than we had at the end of last season. And up front, well, look, Rasmus is injured, but we do have Xerxes, and we've got a fit Mason Mount. So the midfield is weaker than it was at the end of last season. Would I take Amrabat back? I'm not looking at the poll. I'm trying not to look at the poll. Look, Amrabat coming back is riddled with problems because it's like taking back an old girlfriend or boyfriend, although I've never had a boyfriend or taken one back. So I would say girlfriend. The reason you broke up is always going to define the future you try and have, even if you have a honeymoon period. Look at Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. Oh, we're back together. We're really in love. They're not. They're divorced again. Going back to something, eventually, it's very rare that it will work because the problems of the past will catch up with the future. If we bring Amrabat back, as a bench player, I get it. As a fill-in, I get it. But he will still be the same player he was last season. There still will be limitations. Is Amrabat better for our squad than Eriksen and McTominay? Yes. Is he the best option to bring in right now? I don't know. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'd have to trust Ineos, Ten Hag and the structure to do this deal. I do think that the midfield is a little bit weak, even with Ugarte, because you're only an Ugarte or Casemiro injury away from problems, and having Amrabat there would help. But is that not what Collier is meant to be doing? I mean, generally, the question is Collier or Amrabat. Now, I would imagine a lot of people will say Amrabat's better than Collier, and you're probably right. But will he be better than Collier if we give Collier opportunities over the next 3 or 4 months? And that's the question. I genuinely think in Collier, you look across the Premier League and there are clubs that are giving young players opportunities, and we are one of those clubs. So I don't know about Amrabat. I mean, 74% of you would bring him back. I don't disagree with that. It would be good to have another player option in the midfield, especially a combative one. Do I think United are going to do it? It probably looks a bit unlikely now, to be honest. Steve Church, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Amrabat replaced Casemiro and we dominated City, says Keel. Well, that was sort of my bigger point, really. He played in the FA Cup final. We don't have him anymore. And he played well in that game. As a bench option, he's better than what we've got. He's better than McTominay. He's better than Eriksen. And he's better than nothing. But can United do that in the next few days? I mean, we haven't done the Ugarte deal yet. I mean, Craig's game says just woke up and is Ugarte close? Well, it's always been close, mate. It's about whether it works. Ben Jones says, Mark, Sparky Hughes going back worked. Hughesy. Bloody hell, mate. Most people won't be alive to know that story. I just about do. Mate, there will always be exceptions to the rule, but Ronaldo coming back didn't work, did it? And look, Mark Hughes coming back to Manchester United is a bit different to Amrabat coming back to Man United, because Mark Hughes was a bloody good player when he left and a bloody good player when he came back. Amrabat, we're talking about a player that some people don't think is good enough. So there are differences, of course. Let's talk about Jadon Sancho. I mean, look, that fits into what Ben Jones is saying as well. I mean, do you not think, just in the observation of the Jadon Sancho story, that some of our fans, maybe some of you, have been a little bit naive? Is there a lesson to be learnt there? I mean, I don't want to say I told you so, because I hate that, but I did tell you so, didn't I? I told you so. I told you. I bloody told you. Let's remember. Let's play back the clip. I told you so. I'm joking. But look, I did say that Friday, was it a Friday? It dropped out of nowhere that Jadon Sancho was back training with Man United, and I was stunned. And I did say at that time, there was all these people going, the star boy returns. Oh, this is great news. And I did say at the time, you've got to be very careful here, because think about this. Jadon Sancho hasn't got anywhere to go, and it's the start of July. If you're Man United and you're Sancho, is it better to shake hands and just try and get on so he can have a pre-season and find a club? Or is it better to not get on and leave him at home playing FIFA? Of course, the better decision was to show a United front, smile, and try and get a move and also get a pre-season. And I think that's exactly what they did. I think it was clearly just about putting up with it. Ten Hag and the coaches and Ineos and Sancho and his team clearly don't get on. They clearly don't see eye to eye. And I think what they did for the last 2 months is just go, it's better for everybody if we show to the world that there isn't any issue anymore, because it makes you more appealing to clubs that might want to take you on. And it makes our job easier to move you on. And I think that's what they've done for 2 months. But the problem with that is the season starts, Sancho's not in the team. And maybe he was thinking, well, as part of putting me in the shop window, surely I'll be in the team. And Ten Hag's like, well, no, I'm not putting you in the bench. I'm putting Anthony and Garnacho ahead of you. And then even Ten Hag alluded to it on Saturday before the game. There's been issues. And those issues will probably be the disagreement about not being on the bench. And I agree with Art. I think it's all pretend. But I agree with it. I agree with it being pretend. But I think the sad thing is that, as per usual, when you do put on a fake front for the benefit of everybody, some people fall for it and actually think, oh, he's going to be our number 10 or he's going to be our starting winger. And it's very, very clear that that's not going to be the case. I think that where we're at in the final days, I couldn't call this one. I don't know what happens here. I mean, what's best for Sancho and what's best for Man United is he's not a Man United player come Friday night. if he is, we're left with a player that we know doesn't like it here and with a coaching setup that doesn't like him. That really can't happen. So I think that the latest around Sancho is that he's desperate to get out. Obviously, United are desperate to move him out. I don't like that word desperate because we could end up with a scenario where we're paying half his wages and he goes on loan again and you're just kicking the problem down the road. Truly, I've not missed your super chat. I just haven't read it yet. That's how it works. We don't stop talking about what we're talking about because you want to talk about what you want to talk about. It will be read when we've got past this topic. So, Sancho, desperate to go. Man United, desperate to sell. That word desperate concerns me, and I'm sure it concerns you as well. Basically, 4 days of the transfer window to go, 4.5 days to go. The latest coming out the Telegraph was that Juventus are still the likeliest place for him to go. Chelsea haven't made any official approach. There's just interest, but Juventus are the ones leading the race. I still hope that there's something at PSG. I do wonder what PSG are doing and whether they'd fancy a little bit of a dabble as well. But time is running out and the wages are a massive problem. So where do I think we'll end up with Sancho? I think we cannot end up with him staying. I think that's the worst case scenario for everybody. If we can move him on, I think that's the most unlikely thing. I can't see a situation where we get a transfer fee and someone pays his wages. I just can't see that. So I think the most likely outcome is a loan deal on Friday, towards the end of Friday afternoon. I think we'll end up with a loan deal on Friday. Shay, I think you're on the wrong channel. You obviously don't understand the concept of news. It still amazes me that we get people coming in here going, stop spreading nonsense, when we're literally... look, maybe the 8 o'clock show, that's more opinion, but the 10 o'clock show, just for anybody who's new, we react to the news on a 10 o'clock show. So everything we're talking about is news. Whether it's Victor Lindelof's, here we go, message from his wife, whether it's Jadon Sancho's latest situation, whether it's Rabiot and Sterling pay cuts, whether it's Ugarte and McTominay close. These are all news stories that we're reacting to. Hi, Mark. Today's my birthday, says Destiny. That's news as well. Happy birthday. Steve Brown says Sterling offers a lot in chances for forward. Short-term deal with low wages, and it'll get rid of Sancho. Thoughts? Absolutely not, Steve. Absolutely not. I respect your thoughts. So Steve's basically saying Sterling's a good player, short-term deal, low wages, performance-related, and it gets rid of Sancho. You know, a lot of people might go, yeah, I'm with Steve, tick, 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 tick. The flip side of that coin is another 29-year-old. We've seen this movie before. Another player that's got baggage. We've seen this movie before. Attitude issues. You've got to say that is absolutely obvious. We've seen that before. No long-termism. And ultimately comes into the dressing room as a big character that could dishevel and disrupt. Absolutely no. As far as I'm saying no, but I don't have any control on it. Confirm, I've missed you reading my super chat, says Oliver. My bad if so, says Oliver. If Amrabat got game time, he would be a better player, says Rozzy. I think that's fair. And Truly Toasted says, how's about Gundogan coming back to City? You see, Truly Toasted said, you've missed my super chat. And part of me thought this is going to be something really... really appealing to the chat. I thought maybe he's going to talk about, you know, the issues with Manchester United playing Casemiro and Mainu against Liverpool and how we might get exposed. No, he wants to talk about Man City buying Gundogan. Yeah, I would have I missed that on purpose. Thank you very much. Will you be getting the next FIFA or whatever they're calling it, says Mr. A. Yeah, I think it's out in about 3 or 4 weeks, so we'll be doing a Man United career mode. And Andrew CJ says, surely Rabiot is better than Amrabat. £7 million, let's say 6 million a year for Rabiot, but I'm 12 million a year. So what Andrew's saying, Rabiot's a better player. And he's probably going to work out cheaper. But I would still say that Amrabat's probably a better signing for Manchester United because he wants to play for Man United. He's been at Manchester United and they know everything about Amrabat. Whereas Rabiot is flirting around for 2 months and 3 years, he said... last 2 summers he's not come to Man United. I think look, Rabiot, if he comes in the first week of July and he's happy to come in, fine, I'll deal with it. Last week of August, it's desperate, it's panicky, it worries me. And I don't think that we will do it. 73% of you would bring Amrabat back for 10 million, by the way. 27% of you wouldn't. ADTF says, so on Jadon Sancho, we're going to keep loaning him until his contract finishes. I think we might not have any bloody choice, mate. We can't sell him and get somebody to take his wages on as well. That's the big problem. He is basically unsellable, and that's the problem we've got. His contract situation is that it doesn't run out till 2026, and there's an option for a further year as well, which means I think when there's an option for a further year, you have to pay him out for that last year as well. So he's got 3 years effectively left on his contract. So yeah, it's very, very difficult to get that deal done out of the club. So I think a loan out of the 3 options of he stays, he's sold, or he's loaned, I think with 4.5 days left, that's the one that looks most likely to me. Wasn't it Omar Barada that sanctioned Dortmund to City? Maybe he knows better and is pushing the exit. I hope so, says the filthy underdog. And Dan Bardston says, hi Mark, do you think Van Nistelrooy can help our attackers who clearly lack confidence to score more goals, says Dan. I can't believe that in the first 2 games of the season, Marcus Rashford's not even had a shot. I mean, that stat to me, whilst not being terrifying, is just surprising, because one of my issues with Marcus Rashford is that he shoots too much. You know, the fact that he hasn't had a shot in the first 2 games is actually surprising, because I think he shoots too much. So the fact that he's not had any shots is scary. But there was a point in the Brighton game, actually, with midday today on That's Football, we've got our live Premier League review show that we do every Monday at midday. Make sure you tune into it, because there's quite a lot of Man United stuff in there. The sack race, where Ten Hag is in that, pressure, Deitch. Also, Pratt of the Week and all that. There's some really good stuff in there, especially around Man United. Tune in. But I was watching Match of the Day on Saturday night, and I rarely do. I watch Match of the Day. I only ever watch the Man United match, really, because I'm just... Basically, what I do is I watch the highlights, which can be manipulated anyway. They don't necessarily show you the best highlights, but I'm always interested to see what the Pratts like Lineker and Shearer have got to say, just to see if they get it right. And to be fair, Shearer got it spot on. He said it's embarrassing how many times Man United get called offside. Well, we've spoken about this for years. Last season, we were second in the league for offsides. In fact, I did my video... Did you watch my video a couple of weeks ago where I said the reason Man United don't score goals? And one of the areas of that video was offsides. We get offside too much. When you get caught offside, that's the end of that play. It gives opposition possession. You know, you talk about winning the ball back. People don't ever think about football like this. We need Ugarte, because we need somebody who is good at tackling with a good engine, who can do it for 90 minutes and will track the runners. Why do we need Ugarte? To win the ball back, yeah? Win possession back, yeah? When you're offside, you're basically giving the possession back to the opposition. So an offside is basically a tackle that the opposition win. We need to think about that like that, because if we're buying players to win the ball back for us because possession's important, every time we're offside, we're giving possession back to the opposition. Every time we shoot from 40 yards and shoot over the bar, we're giving possession back to the opposition. We are careless, amateur, and lazy. The amount of times we're offside is embarrassing, and we're giving the ball back to the opposition. It shouldn't be happening. So people talk about the finishing of Ruud van Nistelrooy. I would like Ruud van Nistelrooy to teach them how to stay onside, because the amount of times we're offside is embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. But anyway, going back to the bigger points, I was watching the Brighton game, and I remember it happening in game, and they highlighted it in Match of the Day as well. And I remember it, and you'll remember it now. There was a point where Rashford, who didn't have a very good game against Brighton, there was a point where Rashford was on the left wing, and he went past somebody, and I went, oh, here we go. I sort of moved forward in my seat. I went, here we go. And he went past him. There's still a long way to go to goal, and there's still a few Brighton players more centrally, but there's an ocean of space in front of him. And you're like, Marcus Rashford's gone past the player with an ocean of space in front of him. Knock it long, sprint. You know what he did? He turned back to the player that he'd just gone past and passed the ball backwards. And I was like, wow. Wow, what is going on there? I could write a book about that. That, to me, is probably the biggest takeaway. Rather than just calling him Trashford and having a pop at him, or rather than being Player FC and, you know, just loving everything he does, let's analyse for a second. That moment, for me, sums up the problem with Rashford. Why are you not running into that space? That's what you are. Speed, direct, off you go. So why are you turning back and passing the ball back? Is it a lack of confidence? Is it a lack of speed? Is it low football IQ? Or is it more sinister what I saw with Kyle Walker last year, where Kyle Walker's got the ball at right back. There's acres of space in front of him. All he's got to do is knock it past the player and he's quick. He turns back and passes it inside because that's Pep ball, possession. I don't know the answer to the question. I'm just saying it might be that he's been told not to do that, to cut inside and pass the ball back and keep possession, because some teams do that. Pep's team do it. They'll ignore the take on to keep the possession. I don't know. But it was a very, very good clip on a show that I find quite crap for analysis, because I thought, I remember that in the game. That was odd. Very, very odd. Crate says he's no longer got the pace. I hear a lot of people say this. I need the evidence, because I can't for 1 minute think that he hasn't got the pace anymore. I just can't see how a 26-year-old has lost his pace. It doesn't make any sense. And if he has lost his pace, we've made a big, big mistake. There is a tweet just coming in here from Sport Witness saying that from Uruguay, transfer to Manchester United is practically closed. Claim the player could even arrive in the next few hours. May take a bit longer though. Oh yeah, come on. That's not an update, is it? That's just closer than close. You've got to be really careful and respect yourself. Respect yourself, people. Come on. You need to respect yourself. You can't be chasing sources that you've never heard of before, saying it's close, it could happen in the next few hours, but might take longer. That's like me saying, we might have fish and chips tonight, but I don't know whether it's open, so we might have it tomorrow. Like, come on. Let's get real. I'd rather take a gamble on Mudryk than Sterling. Yeah, you've been drinking, Jordan. I would take Sterling over Mudryk. Why aren't we looking to buy Amrabat, says Abanaf? Well, I've spoken about that. I think it's other priorities at the moment. If the opportunity to get rid of Sancho is there for Sterling, I'd take it as net gain, and moving Sancho will be difficult otherwise, says Gaz. I disagree again, Gaz. Again, some people will agree with you, but why are people looking at it like that? Why are you going, if we can get rid of Sancho, I'd take Sterling? So you'd get rid of 24-year-old Jadon Sancho for 29-year-old Raheem Sterling, who's 30 at Christmas. Even financially, it doesn't make sense. Like, Chelsea get the better deal. There's no value in Sterling at all. He's never going to be worth anything ever again. He will be at Man United for 2 years and that'll be him done, whether he plays well or not. Whereas Sancho, if they get him playing well, he'd be 25, 26 and worth 50 million. So, no, financially, it's a terrible decision to do as well. Did you see Rashford is number 2 after Calvert-Lewin for pressing runs at opposition backline? Maybe explains Ten Hag's reluctance to drop him, says Sam. Yeah, but pressing runs and Calvert-Lewin and pressing runs and Marcus Rashford. I mean, this is what I mean about stats. What pressing runs are these? I don't think Marcus Rashford's good at pressing. So is there a success rate on are they measuring how successful these presses are? I mean, there's pressing and there's pressing. Like, for one, little bit of advice for you. If you play as an attacker and you're pressing, or you're a midfielder, but more if you're an attacker, if you press in a straight line sprint, it's the crappiest, worthless press ever. If you sprint towards the right back in a straight line, piece of piss to pass the ball angled into the midfield, easy. If you bend your run when you press, it's harder. So it's how you run as well. Running, pressing runs, what does that mean? Are they analysing the angle of the run? Are they analysing, the space of the run? if it's a straight line sprint, which is what I see Rashford and do a lot, I don't think it's even effective as a press, to be honest with you. And he's not the only one. He's not the only one. I'll tell you who I think is very good at pressing. Rasmus is very good at it. He angles his run. Obviously, Man City are brilliant at it. But, I mean, what sort of stat is this? Pressing runs. Bloody hell. What a week, says Ben Jones. Oasis reunion. Ugarte, Rabiot/Amrabat in. McTominay, Sancho, Hannibal, Lindelof out. Just need a left back. Katara, says Ben Jones. It's ridiculous at this point. Integrating back to the team, says United 1. Amrabat was good when he played in CDM, says Mark Jackson. Thank you for that. Just wanted to come back to this. Sources say Ugarte is waiting in departures, says Tom Grant. And hi Mark, about the Brighton game, I question Onana's leadership at the back during the game, says Destiny. Look, mate, there are a couple of conversations that if a transfer window wasn't open, and we'll be able to do this after next week, I think there are really good shows and conversations that we can't have at the moment because there's so much going on around transfers and bigger issues around the football team. But if you don't think Onana's an issue, it's just being swept under the carpet at the moment. Like, I haven't even got time to analyse Onana at the moment. I think Mason Mount needs analysing properly as well. I think it's a conversation that we need to monitor because if he's injured again, what's the point? But on Onana, like, Onana, I'm trying to get the words out here because there's just so many things popping around my head. We got to get the defensive line up if we want to use Onana. He's a sweeper keeper, and we're not playing high up the pitch enough for him to be a sweeper keeper. If we want to get the best out of Onana, we need defenders who want the ball. And Maguire doesn't really want the ball. We saw it against Brighton. He doesn't want the ball under pressure. And, you know, those things have got to change to make Onana better. That's what we brought him into the team for. But when it comes to set pieces, he's got sellotape on his soles of his shoes. Like, he just stands on the line. He's not intimidating on crosses at all. And we saw this last season. We've got a new goalkeeping coach and it's going to take time. The same way we've got a new set-piece coach and it's going to take time. Because at the end of the day, that new set-piece coach will be getting a bollocking this morning because of the goal we conceded at the end. Like, that shouldn't happen. As a set-piece coach, you're responsible for that winner against Brighton. Because if I'm Ten Hag, I'm saying, how the fuck have we gone from defending a corner to having 2 free players on the back post scoring a winner in a Premier League game? So the set-piece coach will get the blame for that. The individual players will then get a bollocking, but the set-piece coach will be like, what did you tell them to do there? Why have they wandered away? Because you will be told. This is not like managing a team at amateur level where you've got to be responsible for everything. We've got a set-piece coach who is going to be there saying, when that corner comes in, do not abandon players on the back post until you know the ball has gone and Delo's come back across. You can't just run away from it. So that will be analysed. But we've also got a goalkeeping coach. And we've got a new goalkeeping coach. And last season, Onana was sellotaped to his line a lot. You think about the Cole Palmer goal at Chelsea. He stays too close to his line, which makes the goal bigger. That is still a vulnerability. It's still a vulnerability. Some people said on the first goal, do you think he should have, closed the angle a little bit so he could have got close to the Welbeck cross? I haven't looked at that enough. To me, I didn't really feel Onana was at fault there. You do see goalkeepers, jumping out and stopping the cross when it's low like that. And the goal itself, you can't do anything on either of them. But look, there's a conversation to be had there about Onana over the next few weeks because there are weaknesses from last season. Of course there is. But the biggest weakness I think I wanted to talk about on the show was left back. Last season, it was a massive hole in that team for most of the season. And this season, it's a massive hole again. And there is absolutely nothing at the moment about us bringing in a left back this week. And even if we did bring a left back in this week, it's not going to be the priority, is it? It would be a Marcus Alonso on a free transfer, which is just shit. Maybe a Reguilon again. For whatever reason, left back is not a priority for Manchester United, and they've left it again. And they're gambling on the fitness of Luke Shaw and Malacia again, which is what they did in January, and it went wrong. That old saying again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. I'm just going to put a flag in the sand, and it's got left back on it, and I'm going to say, look, I'm not coming back to this in December and saying it's a new problem. It's a problem today. It was a problem in May. It was a problem in February. We all know left back is a problem and it's a priority position. And for whatever reason, United have left it. Now, if this becomes a problem next week again because of Salah, if it becomes a problem in a few weeks' time against Arsenal, if it becomes a problem against other teams, for whatever reason, we have decided we're not going to do anything with a left back. Who's decided it? They must have all decided it. But I think that, you know, there's talk of whether we should be bringing another midfielder in like Amrabat. I agree. There's talk about we didn't get the left-sided centre-back in Branthwaite. I agree. We didn't get Elise as a creative winger. I agree. But do any of those things that we didn't do overshadow the fact that we didn't get a left back? I've been doing most of the shows this summer, and the amount of times people have said, when's the left back going to come? When's the left back going to come? And even Fabrizio Romano has been on this show and said in May, June and July, it's not a priority at the moment, but Man United will look to solve the left back problem later in the transfer window, and mention people like Kirkes at Bournemouth. So that's not even come to pass. We've just not bothered to do anything about it. It's risky. Lowe is not a left back. He's a guy who can do a decent job filling in, but he's not a specialist. If you want to be in the top four, I don't think you can't have specialists. And we've decided that we're going to gamble this season on Luke Shaw's fitness. And that, to me, you know, that's like walking across thin ice in a pair of Timberlands with spikes on the bottom doing river dance. You can't moan if it breaks. You might get lucky, but the chances are the ice is going to break. We are so dependent on Luke Shaw's fitness. Ronaldo return was a success, says Angel Bomb. Yeah, of course it was, mate. A major success, wasn't it? Didn't go to rat shit with him doing a Piers Morgan interview in a year's time, did it? Hasn't played sweeper keeper for a year. Can he still, says Parker. Would you sell Rashford for £50 million, says Farhan. Right here, right now, yeah. 2 months ago, I wouldn't have sold him for any less than 70, but right here, right now, I would. I would swap Sancho for Palmer, says HR Plays. I don't think that's breaking news. I think we all would. What about Chiesa? Path, I think it's a fan theory. We've never been in for Chiesa. Look, things can change in the last few days. We've never had an EOS transfer window before, so God knows what could happen in the last 3 or 4 days. They don't strike me as the sort of people that are going to do panic deals, but you don't know. You don't know. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching this morning. Absolute legends. It is a bank holiday in the UK, so we are treating it like a Sunday. There will be an 8 o'clock show tonight, but obviously we're ready like coiled springs to go live if we get any breaking news. Look, fingers crossed, we do get a here we go today. And it's not just Scott McTominay. So, yeah. Chunky says, if you sold Rashford for £50 million, it's pure profit. So, in some ways, it almost is £70 million. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. We're not going to do it, though. We're not going to do it. But it's hard to see. I mean, look, some people think you can't even talk about Rashford because it's an agenda. But it's hard to ignore the fact that he's not played well for over a year. And it's hard to ignore the fact that he's one of our best earners. And it's hard to ignore the fact that we're all waiting for a light switch to go off where he suddenly starts playing really well. But it's getting harder and harder to see how that happens because it's getting longer and longer since he's done it. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Stay safe. Don't forget, we're on That's Football at 12 o'clock, just over an hour. It's a cracking show. Got some really, really good topics to talk about, and some of them include United. So make sure if you've got time to tune in. We'll be in the Goldbridge Arms in an hour. Take care. Stay safe. I'll speak to you soon.